Hello everyone and welcome into the last video here going over the different tissues we have in the body. In this video, we're going to be going into the nervous tissue. So your central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, your nerves, and also the three types of muscle tissue. So we're going to be looking at the functions and the locations of all of these. Now, this isn't the last video. I think I'm going to record one more video going over a whole bunch of histology images that I've taken of the tissues as well. So be on the lookout for that one too. Alrighty, let's get into this now, and we're going to jump right into looking at the muscle tissue. So smooth, skeletal, and cardiac, and then we're going to look at the nervous tissue. So the muscle tissues. These are the ones that are causing movement. They're muscles, but they're not all the same. So the three categories are skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. And here's a little table going over the three categories. First up here are your skeletal muscles. Your skeletal muscles, they get the term striated to them. So they are striated, and they are voluntary. So what that means, voluntary movement and striations. It's hard to describe striations before doing the muscles chapter, so we'll talk about that more later, but it deals with the overlapping of the filaments that are found in the muscle. So the proteins, you have one called actin and another, so those are thick filaments, so they're larger. I'll draw a brief example right here of each. So you have actin filaments, and then you have myosin, which is in red, and then you have thin actin filaments in between them, and they would continue down this way. So what happens, the myosin heads and attach to the actin here, and when you imagine this, all hundreds and hundreds of these in a cell, they end up making a striping pattern. So since this area is thicker, it appears darker. This area, there's not as much, so it appears lighter. And so it makes these dark bands and these light bands, and that causes this striping pattern to then appear on that particular muscle. So if you look in here, now you might have to look close at this image in the textbook, you can see this slight striping pattern coming down here. Those are what striations are. Skeletal muscles, because they fuse together during development, are also typically multinucleate. So there are multiple nuclei found, a lot of energy being used in these skeletal muscles here. So striated, they're voluntary, they're multinucleate, and they are ones that you are using when I'm flaring around in this video. I am using my skeletal muscles to move. I choose that. That's what voluntary means. Whereas we look at cardiac and smooth, both of these are involuntary. So you don't choose how fast or how hard they contract. So cardiac, you can't tell your heart rate to be 125 right now. You have to get up and start moving in order for your autonomic nervous system to then change the heart rate. Same thing with your smooth muscle. You can't change your blood pressure by thinking about it. So your smooth muscle and your cardiac muscle are involuntary. Now your cardiac is striated. So there are striations and a striping pattern in cardiac muscle. And again, I didn't explain cardiac is your heart. So these muscles, these cells are all found in your heart. Now also cardiac muscle is amitotic, meaning it doesn't divide. If you lose cardiac cells, you unfortunately lose them. And they are short. Your heart also contracts as a unit. It's called functional syncytium. So all of these cardiac cells are connected via gap junction. So your heart, boom, beats as one unit because the gap junctions cause them to work together. Your skeletal muscle, you can contract individual muscle fibers, and they don't all have to contract at once. Say you're doing a biceps curl, your biceps brachii muscles aren't all contracting together. Your smooth muscle, most of those are also connected. They're a little different on how they go through activation. They have different ways to activate, but they act like sheets, and a wave can move through. So in your digestive system, you have something called your peristaltic wave. It's this motor wave that moves through, propelling components through your intestines and so forth. And that's one way they work. And then smooth muscle, this one lacks striations, no evident striations here. And they have a different overlapping of those thick and thin filaments like we talked about right here. And so they don't show those striations in them. And they are also smaller cells. So let's look at these pictures here. Like I said, this one is skeletal. So skeletal muscle has those striations, multinucleate, and so forth. This one here, it's a sheet of cells. So smooth muscle can form these circular sheets or these longitudinal sheets. And so circular ones, think about lining of your digestive, they can squeeze. Longitudinal ones and squeeze this way. So that can create a peristaltic wave as things move through. So right here would be a nucleus, and then the cell would be like right there. I know histology images are hard to understand, but these cells are uninucleate and short. And so they form this sheet-like structure. So this one would be smooth cells, smooth muscle cells. And this one would be cardiac. This isn't a great image of cardiac, so which is why I'm going to record the next video. But you can see uninucleate cells, and they are a little shorter here. And they can also branch too and communicate around. And so these short cells, and if you look really close, you can't see it in this image. That's why I said this image isn't great. There are striations that are found here too. Another thing that's found in cardiac, let me write that down here, are these things called intercalated discs. Intercalated discs. These are the gap junctions. So if I erase this and I circle that part right there, you can kind of see this dark line. You can see another dark line right there, another one right there. Kind of hard to see all of them in this image, but these are gap junctions which connect these two cells together. So as when this cell gets activated, this next cell immediately gets activated as well, and they all get activated as one unit. So those are the three muscles: cardiac, smooth, and skeletal. We're going to talk more about the cellular components and the molecular components of each in future chapters, but this is just, they are types of tissues. Then next up here is nervous tissue. This is the last tissue we're going to talk about. Your nervous tissue is part of your central nervous system or your peripheral nervous system. So it's the functioning of it is the nervous system, communication, signaling, and so forth. Like you can't contract your muscles without sending a nervous system signal to them. And so the nervous tissue is primarily made up of neurons. Neurons are the primary communicating cell of the nervous system, but there are supporting cells around them. We find various ones in the central nervous system like astrocytes, ependymal cells, oligodendrocytes, and microglial cells. You don't need to know all those right now. In the peripheral nervous system, we have Schwann cells and satellite cells. So all those cells kind of work together for the nervous system to function. But the main ones here are the neurons, which have this really neat structure where they have this cell body with a nucleus, these different dendrites that come out here. So the communication signals are coming into those dendrites, and then they send this signal down this long axon and then get to the axon terminals where they secrete that signal. So when you activate a muscle, you're releasing neurotransmitter at what's called the neuromuscular junction. That's in activating that muscle. When we get to the nervous system and the muscles and for how they contract, we're going to be going into more details on the structure of neurons, those supporting cells, and how they all work and fire things called action potentials. But they're a really neat cell, and it's hard to see it in this, but like right here's the cell body, and right here would be the nucleus. This is the nucleus and this is the cell body. It's hard to see, but then you have the different dendrites that would be coming out of that, and then an axon could be coming out. So similar thing to what we're seeing here. It's just hard to look at the histology image and show it. Alrighty, those are all the tissues. So a short little video here going over the last couple. I just didn't want to make the last video too long. I'm going to do one more video here going over like a fake lab where you're pretending to look at microscope images of all the various tissues. We're going to be talking about the organs in which they come from and so forth. And I took most of those images on a microscope. So it'll be a fun little video, and stay tuned for that. So, all right, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.